How to donate 10 times more with the donation flow through strategy. Interesting topic. So, this is a way that you can be a philanthropist without giving away a lot of money. So, have you ever wondered why, how people donate millions to a charity? Like sometimes you'll see the Toronto General Hospital, someone will give away 10 million or 50 million to the charity. How do they do that? Do they actually give away all that much money? Or do they have a method to do it? Also, ever wonder how people get millions into a private charitable foundation? Like you may seem like, well, of course, Bill and Melinda Gates is the most well-known one, and they have tons of money. But people that have their own charitable foundation in their own name, often you see they have a million or 5 million or 10 million or 50 million in there. How do they get so much in there? And the truth is that a lot of this is just effective tax planning that can help you donate 10 times more. So just think of how you can be a philanthropist without having to have all that, a huge amount of money. So, all right, what we're going to learn today is, why am I talking about donations when the cost of living is so high? I know that's why I get that question from people. So also, what if 5,000 would give you a 50,000 donation to a cause that's important to you? Like, what about that? Just think about how you can start to make a difference in the world. Now, also, what is a flow through share? What is the donation flow through strategy? How does it work? Who does it work for? How big or small a donation does it work for? Can you use a holding corporation for it? What creative tax strategies can you do? These are always my fun part, all the creative ideas. How will the revised alternative minimum tax, which is coming out next year, affect this whole strategy? Why is a personal charitable foundation a perfect fit for the donation flow through strategy? And also, how does a donation plan benefit you? So that's our topic for today. So first of all, why am I talking about donations where the cost of living is so high? If that's the biggest issue of Canadians today, the cost of living is really high. Inflation's gone up. Everything's expensive. So I find even higher income people are being stretched. So why are we talking about donations? Well, you know what? So I just listened to a podcast called The Compounding Life. And it's actually really interesting because, so we have a growth outlook, and a lot of our clients have this growth outlook towards the world. And you're constantly building, and when you have a growth outlook, things compound over time. You think over several decades how things compound. They double every 7 years, and they double for 30 years. They double 4 times. So you have this growth outlook. And over the years, when you have this outlook, it can lead to you to a really abundant life down the road where you've just built up some money. So, and now once you have an abundant life, you look back and think, wow, I can't believe how far I've gotten. And now you start to feel grateful that, life is so good. And you start to think later on, especially later on in life, often you may, think about giving back, and you think back of all the people that are much worse off than you in your community, and you see causes in your community that you can help with. I just read this book called The Bottom Billion. And when you look at people globally in poverty, you still, like, even though, we've moved so far, there's still a lot of people globally that are left behind that don't have any of the modern conveniences we have, really in abject poverty. And there's still, a billion of them. And that's, a cause that's, I've come to realize, wow, that's really still such a huge thing. So, that you can help out people like that. All right. So what if 1,000 could become a $50,000 donation to a cause important to you? So, you know what? Think big. This is how, you tend to think, I don't really have much money to give. Well, let's just think big for a minute. So life is compounding. You can think big. I found a lot of people donate just modest amounts each year. And usually it's, telemarketers call them up. They'll donate. I've done thousands of tax returns. And often you'll see 10 or 20 different receipts, but for $50 or $100 each or something small. But, so instead of donating $500 per year, you can donate $5,000 once. That's 10 years worth of donations. And then use a tax strategy to make it 50,000. Okay. Now you've got 50,000 in donations instead of $500 a year. And that's, using 10 years donations. So the donation flow through strategy lets you donate 10 times more. So 5,000 of your money can be a 50,000 donation. Okay, just let that percolate. Think about that for a little bit. So now one large donation can be or contribute to your personal charitable foundation. I just had a video about that, or a talk about that a couple of weeks ago. That's a really good one to watch, but also I'll talk a bit more about it briefly here. So your foundation can contribute $2,500 per year forever for you. So your foundation has to contribute 5% per year of what's in there. So you put 50,000 in once, 5% is 2,500. So now that same $500 a year that you put in there is contributing 2,500 every year. And then you don't have to donate anymore because your foundation is doing it all for you. So now it's reducing your after-tax cost of giving amplifies your charitable impact because you've reduced the cost more so much you can afford to give a lot more and make a bigger difference. All right, so let's try to understand this a bit. First of all, what's a flow-through share? So a flow-through share is a type of common share that permits the initial purchaser to claim a tax deduction equal to the amount invested. So you put money in, you get the full amount back. And it's only specific industries where it's being promoted, okay, where the government's offering this tax credit. Okay. Now, when you get a tax deduction equal to full value, what happens is the book value of the investment is zero. So you put 100,000 in, your book value is zero. If you sell it for 100,000, the whole amount is a capital gain. So whenever you sell it, you have a big capital gain, but it actually the cost is zero, and you got the full amount back in a tax refund. Okay, that's what a flow-through share is. Now, shares, these are usually mining companies, and it's often exploring new minerals. Okay, so that's why you get an exploration tax credit. And what happens is companies transfer their exploration tax credit to you as the investor. Okay, so that's to encourage investment. They give you the exploration tax credit. And now recently there's been a move because we need all these critical minerals and rare earth minerals. The federal tax credit has been doubled from 15 to 30%. So there's a good tax credit equal to these for these minerals. And basically what you're doing first with the flow through share is you're helping find minerals that are needed for future energy projects. So that's the first bit of good that you're doing in the world. Now, what is the donation flow through strategy? So just in short, what it's a strategy to make your donation up to 10 times larger. So basically what you do is you invest in a flow through share. Now you contribute the share to a charity, and then from that you get 90% of your investment back in tax refunds. So first of all, it is a donation. You get this exploration tax credit that is transferred to you, and also so you're allowed to donate, and what happens is because the entire value of what you get out of it is a capital gain. If you donate shares, the gain itself is not taxable. Okay, that's the beauty of it. When you combine those three factors, the gain is it's first of all donation you get a tax credit for, then you get the exploration tax credit, and then the capital gain itself is tax-free. And that's the big power behind the strategy. So how does it work? So it's basically 4 steps. So you subscribe to the flow-through share issue, which gives you access to all these tax benefits. Now, you donate the shares to a registered Canadian charity or a charitable foundation of your choice. Okay, so you've donated the shares. Now, the charity immediately sells the shares to a predetermined institutional buyer. So that can actually happen all same day. So it happens all at once. And the charity receives the funds and issues you a tax donation receipt. Okay, that's kind of the big picture of the 4 steps involved. Now, who does it work for? First of all, you need to be an accredited investor. I'll explain why in a minute. Now, an accredited investor in the Tax Act has a specific meaning. It means you have a net income over $200,000 for the last 2 years. Net income is a specific line on your tax return. Or you plus your spouse together have over $300,000 net income over the last 2 years. Remember, it's any one of these. Or you have $1 million in financial assets. So financial assets are just, stocks and bonds and mutual funds. That's all it is. That's $1 million. Or you can have $5 million in net assets. So that's including real estate. Okay, again, after any loans. Now, also, if you're a client of an independent portfolio manager, that they're classified ICPM, independent portfolio managers. So, like all of our clients, we refer all of our investments out to these independent portfolio managers. And by definition, if they put you into one of their portfolios, you're considered to be accredited investor because you're from this portfolio manager. Okay, so that you can get a loan into it just because of that. So that's the definition of accredited investor. So that's also the same definition that gets you into hedge funds and other things. You need a taxable income over 350,000. That's not a fixed number. It's just roughly, to get the maximum benefit. The reason is to get the maximum benefit, you need to be in the highest tax bracket, which starts at 235,000. It's income above that, and you need enough room to get all your deductions above the 235,000. And you need the ability to borrow 2.6 times the donation amount temporarily. So you put a large amount in, but you get it back. Okay, so some immediately, and then some more you got to carry for a while. Now, with corporations, you need a significant investment income. So it also works with an operating company, but it mostly works with an investment. It's a company where you only have investments, a holding company. That's where you get the maximum benefit. And that's usually where you want to do it. You got a bunch of money that's investments in a corporation, and you want to invest that amount. So that you need the taxable income of the corporation to be 5.5 times what the donation is. So it needs to be quite a bit more. That's 5.5 is rough. It depends on the actual program, but these are higher income. So that tells you if you've got this high income, divide whatever your taxable income by 5.5, it tells you how big of a donation you can make. So often this happens when you have the 1 year where you have a big gain or something like that. And then also you need the ability to invest or borrow 5.5 times the donation for a day. So you need to have access to money, but you get it right back. You get a lot of it, most of it right back. Okay, so that's kind of position you need to be able to do this. Now, how big or small of a donation does it work for? Now, the minimum investment is 35,000 roughly. So there's different providers and different programs, but generally it's around 35,000, which means you're doing a donation of 5 or 10,000 as the very minimum. Okay, again, that varies. Now, the maximum you can deduct in a year for both individuals and corporations is 75% of your taxable income. Above that, it's not deductible. Now, if you're an individual and you donate more than that, you can carry forward to future years up to 5 years. So, you're not necessarily stuck with that amount. For corporations, if you have a donation more than that, it's called a non-capital loss, and you can carry it back up to 3 years. Okay, so, but generally you're trying to stay within 75% of your taxable income. So what creative strategies can you do? So it's one thing about in our practice is we got a creative team. We're always thinking of really creative strategies. It's neat how when you see a new tool, you can think of how it would help with something else. So often these strategies work when you have a high income year. You're getting a really big bonus. We have clients with stock options in their employer, and then they have the 1 year when they cash in a whole bunch of stock options, or they have an investment gain. So, for some reason they got a big capital gain. Okay, so we got a large amount now. We don't want to give it all to Revenue Canada. So, you know what? Let's give it to a charity instead. It's, it's much more fulfilling to give money to a charity, especially when, you get 90% of it back or something, right? So would you rather give, 10,000 or 100,000 to a charity, or sorry, it's 10,000 of your money. I would rather give that to CRA or give it to a charity, get 90% of it back. Now, another thing is, if you're getting this, you're going to use a strategy, it allows you to trigger a large capital gain. So if you have an investment that has a large gain and you really like to sell because maybe you want to diversify or whatever, it allows you to do that. So we have clients that get into this position. They've owned a mutual fund or a stock for a number of years, and they built up a huge capital gain. And now they're thinking of selling as a better choice of an investment, but there's a huge capital gain to sell this thing. So what do you do? And we also run into people with a rental property like this. They bought this thing 20 years ago, and now they don't want to manage it anymore. But you know what? There's a $1 million capital gain to sell this thing. So what do you do? So this is a perfect opportunity to do this. Another idea is, if you've got a lot of money in your RSP and you want to get it out, this is a way you can do it. So it allows you to withdraw a large amount from your RSP, and then you turn around and make a big donation to the using this strategy, and you avoid most of the tax on it. So it's a cool idea. Now, so if you're in an issue of, at risk of the OAS clawback, so you're retired, you get your RSP or your RIF, and you don't want to avoid the OAS clawback, you can get a big amount out of your RSP. We've got clients, even clients with, $2, $3, $4, $5 million that are able to do this 8-year GIS strategy where they get, kind of like 100,000 tax-free from the government over a few years, but they have to have a really low income. I've got a video about this, about exactly how to do this strategy. But you can't do it if you have a whole lot in your RSP. It's not going to work. So again, you can pull all the money out of your RSP or your RIF, avoid most of the tax once with a big donation, and now you can get this 8-year GIS strategy. So there's just all kinds of ideas you can do whenever you have a large tax bill. So any large tax bill can be be an opportunity for you. And don't let CRA be your beneficiary. Just think of a cause that's really important to you. When you start looking at causes, you'll find that are some that you think can make a real difference in the world. And it wouldn't be much better to give your money to this cause than to give it to CRA. Who's going to give it to the government? Who, as we know, is going to waste most of it. Right? So now here's a rough summary for the individual. The numbers are a little bizarre, so think about this for a second. So for whatever amount of donation, you got to have cash available of 434%. So 4.3 times the amount of donation is cash available. So you put this cash amount in, but you get 170% of it refunded the same day. So you just need to, you can borrow it from a credit line or something for a day, get it right back. And now you're still out 264% of the donation, 2.6 times the donation. And that can be for up to a year. Now, if you're a person that pays installments, you can get it back quicker. You just pay less in installments. You take it back right away by reducing installments by that amount. But, a lot of people aren't paying installments. So that's the day of your 2.6 times the donation. Now, for that year, you get a tax refund of 287% of the donation. So 287% less 264, you're actually 23% ahead. So in the year that you make the donation, the tax savings are actually 23% more than the donation. Isn't that kind of cool? So now a lot of times you do have to wait a year to, till the following year to get your tax refund when you do your tax return. Unless you're someone that does installments. But you do get it back in that current year. Now, part of it, the tax credit that you get is considered taxable income. So the year after that, you have to pay 33% in tax. So you're 23% ahead in the year you do it. You pay 33% the next year. So your cost of donation is 10%. Okay, a little odd. So, but let me just show you a case of this. And I'm going to show you how it is for an individual and also for corporation. And this is specifically an investment corporation, a holding corporation. Okay. So look at the individual first. So you're donating. So this is based on 100,000 donation. Okay, 100,000 donation. First of all, you have to put 434,000 in initially. Okay. Now 176,000 of it goes to the charity immediately. And 258,000 is sold. And notice this split is determined by the provider. They're trying to do this so that you pay very little tax on it. Okay, so the different situations, this split would vary, but they're trying to pay it where your cost of giving is only 10%. Okay, now so the cash refund the same day, because you're selling 60% of the shares, most of these shares are being sold right away. Net of all the fees, you get 170,000 back right away. So you're only out 264,000, the net on the day of closing. Now, this may look funny because you donated 258,000 that's being sold, 250,000 being sold, but you only got 170,000 for it. And the reason is there's a difference in value of these flow-through shares before, like including the tax credit and after the tax credit. So you're buying them including the tax credit, then you're selling them without the tax credit. It's a 40% reduction here. So, right, this number is 140% of this number, plus some fees. All right. So now your net cash was 264,000. Now in the current year, you get a total of 287,000 in tax savings. It's a combination of the tax from the savings, from the Canadian expiration expense credit, and from the expiration investment tax credit. Okay, and it's also from getting the capital gain tax free on the sale. So now you're actually negative 23,000. You got all your money back in the current year plus 23,000. Now, this investment tax credit, this piece of it is taxable the following year, okay? And you pay 33% tax on that. So you're out 10,000 bucks on this initial strategy. Okay, so really, in the end, you only needed 10,000 bucks to make a 100,000 donation. So isn't that kind of cool how that all works? Now you need, access to this capital to make it work, but it's a really effective strategy if you can make it work. Now, if you've got an investment company, so more and more we find we've got clients that have a business, and we're suggesting to set up a holding company, and often instead of RSP, instead of contributing to RSP, they invest inside the holding corporation. They pay themselves only dividend, which is the most effective. You avoid paying into CPP. It's the most tax efficient way, but then you don't get any RSP room. So you put all your investments into a holding company, which defers you pay the low corporate tax, but you defer all the personal tax, which is most of the tax you pay on income when you have a business. Okay, so it's a different type of tax deferral, different than RSP. Okay, so you're building up all this money in a holding corporation and you're investing it. And once you start getting a reasonable amount of taxable income in that investing corporation, or you get the 1 year with a big income, then you can do this. So the holding company, because the way the tax works, the split has to be different. You have to put in 640,000 instead of 434,000. Remember, the same size donation, 100,000. So a larger amount of it is sold immediately to get your cost of giving down to the lowest number, down to 15%. So again, 175,000 donated, which is what down to 100,000 for the charity. Now you put in 640,000, but this amount is sold right away. The same day you get 308,000 back. So you're out 332,000 on the day. Okay. Now these numbers may look big, but remember, all of these numbers could be 10% of what this number is, right? It could be 33,000 instead of 330,000. Okay, for a 10,000 donation. Okay, so you're out 331,000. Your tax savings in the current year is 316,000. So you're only out 15,000 here. It all happens current year. Now, most companies are actually paying installments. So you can already, if you're paying installments, you can just immediately stop doing any installments until you've paid in 317,000 less. So this can all happen within, the same day or same month or within a few months that you get all this tax savings. So you're only spent the 15,000, even though you made 100,000 donation. Okay. Now, to understand this with a corporation more, it's a little more involved, and I want to show you just a little bit how this gets a little bit technical. So if you don't understand all this, it doesn't really matter, but I'm trying to show you the difference. Now, let's say you've got this in your corporation, you got 640,000, but so this is for an investment, you have 600,000 of investment income. And what we're showing you is you've got the 600,000 investment income, and I'm showing you what it's the difference with or without 100,000 donation. Okay, and the tax savings here are from the donation and the Canadian expiration expense credit. So remember, with the individual, you also get the expiration investment tax credit, which corporations don't get. All you get is the expiration credit. Okay, so now you've got the 640,000. So again, numbers look big. Remember, all of them could be 1/10 of this number. This is just to understand kind of the concept. So if you have 600,000 investment income, then your income tax would be 300,000. But generally, what companies should do with holding company. So now what's happened is investment income, it's called passive income inside a corporation, is taxed at the highest rate, 50.17%. Over half goes to the government. So what basically, in pretty well any case, when you have investment income that's considered passive income in your corporation, the best thing to do is take that income, pay it out to yourself personally. The company gets its portion, most of its tax back, and you pay tax on it personally at the personal tax rate. Okay, so that's what happens here. You paid your tax, but you paid it all out personally. So then there's this refundable dividend tax on hand account, and when you pay it out, you get 184,000 back. So you got 523,000 that you could pay yourself as a dividend. Okay, from the 640. Now you pay tax on that personally at 48%, not 50. So it's a bit lower. And this is the very highest tax bracket. So if your income's a bit lower, you may pay a bit less than that. And then, so the net cash for the shareholder, net cash is 273,000. So remember, you have 600,000 in taxable income, and you have to pay more than half of it in tax. Okay, and you've got 640,000 in cash. Now, so you've taken it all out of the company and you have it personally, and after tax, you still got 273,000 left. Okay, doesn't sound, it's actually less than half, but that's how it works if you don't do a donation. Now, if you do the donation, remember it's 640,000. There's the split of how much is sold right away, how much goes to the charity. Now you got a cash refund the same day. Now what we're doing is we're taking this cash refund and we're paying it out as a dividend. So first of all, out of that dividend, because remember the book value is zero, you get this, when you sell the investment, you get a big capital gain. And that's why 215,000 is from what's called the capital dividend account. It's the half of the capital gain that's free. So you pay yourself 215,000 and it's tax free. Plus, there's 82,000 more out of this dividend that's considered a non-eligible dividend that's taxable. But what happens is you end up with 258,000. So in exactly the same situation, you have $15,000 less, but you made a $100,000 donation to the charity. Okay. Now, if you don't understand all these numbers, that's fine. I'm just trying to give you the concept. So for those geeks who want to understand it all, there's more knowledge behind this, but this is kind of the broad strokes of how it happens. But I'm just showing you how we've kind of it's all been thought through. It's cost you 15,000, and yet you put 100,000 into a charity of your choice. Now, here's a few important details you need to know. So first of all, the typical cost of giving, it varies by program. There's a number of providers, and each one's a little bit different. But in generally, for an individual, it's about 10% of the donation is what it costs you. Holding companies is around 15%. And if you have an operating company, a business it's not investment income, but it's active business income, it's more like 24%, something like that. Now, the tax refunds are often a year later. So remember, in examples, you're waiting a year or so for the refund. So the reason for that sometimes is, so the best offerings of these are usually in the first half of the year. Okay, so the flow-through tax, flow-through shares. And then, so all the expenses are renounced as of December 31st. So you can claim it on your tax return, but it's only your tax return for the year. You only get the details, after year end, and it's all effective December 31st. So if you buy something, March, April, May, June, you get this tax credit in December 31st. And you put it on your tax return, which you do the following year in March or April, and you get it back. So that's why there's this delay. Again, if you pay installments, you don't have to wait for the delay. You can just estimate what your tax is going to be and already pay that much less in installments. But for a lot of people, that's how you're going to have to kind of wait for that year. Now, part of why you need to be accredited investors is because you see a bunch of this money, these shares are being sold right away. And to be able to do a same day tax refund, like a same day refund on selling shares, you have to be an accredited investor. That's the kind of the tax rule. So normally, flow through shares have a 120-day minimum hold, but if you're an accredited investor, you get exempt from that, and that's why you could sell. So remember, in these cases, these shares are being sold immediately, and these shares are being sold immediately. So you can buy it and sell it on the same day, and it's still allowed to be considered. And that's only allowed for accredited investors. Okay? And now, so also the point I made before, corporations in general should pay out all investment income and dividends every year. It's not just for flow throughs. Anytime you have a corporation where you have passive income, investment income in the corporation, you usually want to pay it out to you personally. And you pay your personal tax rate, which the highest is 47.74 and it can be lower, instead of the 50.17 that you pay inside the corporation. Okay, so now why is a personal charitable foundation a perfect fit for the donation flow-through strategy? And basically what it is, it's because you've got a one-time large donation. So instead of doing a one-time large donation, you contribute it to your personal charitable foundation, and then it can be your charity, your foundation contributes to charities for you so much per year over time. So if you're going to one time donate 50,000 to charity, you think, oh well, who am I going to give it to, and how are they going to use 50,000? But instead of that, you put the 50,000 into your personal foundation, and now that foundation will give out, $2,500 a year every year. And you could think about how that happens. But you can go to a charity and you could say, look, we've got a program, and you could set up a program because I'm now going to give you $2,500 every year. So it's easier than you usually with a charitable foundation. You don't necessarily have to do it in year one, donate in year one. You can take some time to think about it. It's a modest amount that you're giving every year. And it could just be way more effective that way. Instead of the pressure of, who am I going to, give 50,000 to as a one-time donation that will use it effectively. Now, I had a post just a couple of weeks ago called The Ultimate Status Symbol and Making a Difference in the World. It's all about these personal charitable foundations. And you know what? They are the ultimate status symbol of the wealthy, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So, the status symbol for the wealthy isn't their home or their car. It's these personal charitable foundations. And, they can be there 100 years or more after you're gone, constantly still making a difference. So, and if you set it up as a public instead of a private, which I talked about in that other post, it's easy to set up. You can set it up in 15 minutes, filling out a form. They manage it all for you. It's all easily done. So just picture it. You got a charitable foundation, like your name or you and your spouse, your charitable foundation. It's contributing to causes that are important to you. You've chosen them and can change them whenever you want. And 100 years or more after you're gone, it's still there. So isn't that like you're leaving a legacy by doing this? So that's kind of the beauty of it all. Now, the benefits of a charitable foundation, I talked about it more in the past video, but so they're also called donor advised fund, another name for it. So you get the full tax credit now, but your investments stay invested. In some cases, you can even still control the investments. Usually you have to have a minimum amount. So, and then out of that, 5% a year of the investments is donated every year to whoever you want. Okay. It's really effective for a high income year, but you can donate, over time. You can get family involved in your donation committee that decides who to donate to. It's a good way to get your kids involved and start teaching them about finances. And together you decide who to donate to. You can also get other people to donate to your foundation. So once you say, I found a very, useful charity that matters to me and that I think is doing a good job, you can go talk to friends and family. They can put money into your charitable foundation and it'll send them a tax receipt. Again, if it's a public foundation, you're not doing this. The company will do it all for you. So it's just easy. You can just, people see what you're doing. They can put money into your foundation. Isn't that kind of cool? Now, this can exist long after you're gone, so you're leaving a legacy. If it's a public foundation, your donations are confidential. Nobody can actually find out what they are. You can donate entirely anonymously if you want. Most people actually want to have their name on it, but you have that choice. Nobody actually can find out if you don't want them to. And that's why it's a perfect fit for the donation flow-through strategy, because the donation flow-through strategy tends to create a one-time large donation, and that's exactly what a charitable foundation, that's often what you need to get a charitable foundation going, the one-time big donation. So they're like a perfect fit for each other. So now, how about the revised alternative minimum tax in 2024? How will it affect this strategy? Now, we've had an alternative minimum tax in Canada for 30 years. You may not have even known it. So, when you fill out your tax return, it figures out, based on your income and deductions and credits, how much tax you owe. But actually, there's actually a completely separate formula that it figures out a second time, and you pay whichever one is the highest. Now, most people, the standard way is the highest, so it's not really a problem. But certain high income people with lots of deductions, it's affected. Now it's actually more, and they pay the extra amount. Now that formula is being drastically changed for 2024, and unfortunately, probably the main thing that this affects is donations, large donations. So the government seems to think that people are avoiding tax by donating to charity. And, some of them are, obviously. That's what we're talking about here. But to me, this strikes me as a really non-wholesome thing to attack. Like, donating to charities is the most wholesome thing you can do. And these people are donating. They're helping out less fortunate people, local community or globally. And this is such a cool thing to be able to do. Why are we trying to tax these people? So anyway, something that kind of bothers me that they're going after it, but that's how the formula is done. So now, in general, we believe that the cost of giving is still going to be around 10%. What will happen is the companies, the providers of this, what they're going to have to do is more of the shares will have to be sold immediately, and less of it goes to the charity. But we could probably still get to a 10% cost of giving is what we think is going to happen. So today, a 10% cost of donation is roughly if you donate 10% of your income. With the new alternative minimum tax, it's going to be more like 6%, assuming it's ordinary income. So what it means is, in general, the large people making large donations are going to donate, 40% less to charity. That's really what it means. Now, they may just still donate a similar amount over more years, but basically, we're going to find with the new alternative minimum tax, large donations are going to be smaller going to charities. So a lot of charities are actually kind of concerned about this. So the other thing is that it's going to vary a lot more based on the client. So the new formula looks at your income, your deductions, and your tax credits, and depending on how you get what you get, it's going to vary a lot more. So now we can kind of say, it's typically an average of 10%, but I think we're going to find in the future, the companies that provide this usually have a tax expert on staff, and you can say, look, here's my tax situation, here's my tax return, how much am I going to get back from this? And it's going to vary much more from one person to another. So it's going to make the whole thing a little bit more complicated, but with proper advice, we can still work it through and still should be able to make this work. However, this is one thing to think, if you're thinking of doing this, 2023 might be a good year to do it before all these new rules get into effect. So now, one thing is, these new rules are only personally. They don't affect the alternative minimum tax does not affect corporations. So if you're in a holding company looking at doing it, no rush. It's the same rules next year as this. Now, so tax efficient donations. So just generally, how do you claim donations effectively? So it needs to be a registered charity. And how do you tell is you look for a registered charity number. So it's 9 numbers plus RR plus 0001. Okay, so if you see that number on a receipt, you've got a registered charity. If not, it's not one. Now, if you're donating to a non-Canadian charity, a lot of them, you can ask them, do you have a Canadian affiliate that will issue, you can donate to them, and the Canadian affiliate will give you the receipt. So then you can get it. So now, without a receipt that has this charitable number on it, it's not considered a charitable donation. Now, in general, the tax credits that you get, so the first $200 that you donate a year is based on the lowest tax bracket, 20%. And then anything over $200 is based on the highest tax bracket at 50%. Now, because we now have a higher tax bracket that's above 50%, so if your income is over, it's actually $235,000 for this year, it's 54% of income for the highest income people with income over this. Now, usually what you do is you combine, if you and your spouse make donations, doesn't matter who makes them, you could put all of it on one tax return and you get more. And the reason you get more is because otherwise, if you both claim some, you both get $200 at the lowest bracket. So it's usually better to claim it all on one person. You can carry it forward up to 5 years if it's more than you can deduct, and you can claim 75% of your net income in any one year, and 100% on the year of death. Okay. Remember, on the year of death, you may have a bunch of extra income too. So generally, you don't have to worry about in most cases, you don't have to worry about losing the deduction, because even if it's more than you can claim this year, you can claim it up to 5 years in the future. And if somehow you die in the process, you'll get all your RSPs and capital, you'll get things that'll be sold with capital gains. Often the year of death is a big taxable income. And so you should be able to claim it all in that year in pretty well all cases. Now, I also talk about a donation plan, and a donation plan is, it's like if you have a financial plan for your finances, a donation plan is how you donate that it's fulfilling for you. And, most people give, when I see tax returns, people, give away 50 or $100 to 10 or 20 different charities. And basically they had telemarketers that came to them and they were annoying, and it's, I'll give you $50 and they go away. But, it's not at all satisfying to give money away to different places like that just to get rid of a telemarketer. It's much more satisfying to sit down and think, who do I want to donate to? So we call this a donation plan. You pick 1 or 2 or 3 causes that are important to you and think about it. Something that's important to you. Could be something that a family or friend wants to do. Could be a disease that's you're susceptible, or the people that are susceptible to. It could be a local something in the community. It could be a hospital near you that that helped save somebody. It could be a university that's setting up a scholarship in your name. Or for me, like, it could be a global charity that's helping people in abject poverty, the bottom billion around the world. Pick a cause that's important to you, and then give a larger amount to that 1 or 2 or 3 causes, and that really gives you a good feeling, rather than lots of little stuff, lots of little donations all over the place. So, and once you have a donation plan, so we have a donation plan, so with my wife and I, and then any telemarketer asking for a donation, we just say no right off the bat. So look, we have a donation plan. We decided at the beginning of the year who we're donating to, and that's what we're doing. So we just say no to all telemarketers, and they go away very quickly when you say that. You just say it confidently. I got a donation plan. I already decided who we're giving it to, so we're not going to give it to you. And then often they'll say, well, will you give, instead of 50, 100, will you give 50? No, just say no, because you're not trying to get rid of them. You're donating a large amount to the cause that's important to you. And that's, I guess it's so much more fulfilling to be able to do that. So now, again, if you have a charitable foundation, they can do all these donations for you. You have to put the money into foundation. And you put 50,000 instead of putting 5,000 a year in, or $500 a year, you do 55,000 once out of your cash. Remember, it's 50,000 goes in the donation into the charitable foundation. Now it's donating $2,500 every year, and so you're not doing it. It's every year you think, where do I want to donate it? It's all coming out of your charitable foundation. It's doing it all for you. All right, that's my talk for today. Thanks a lot for listening. So remember, what we've learned is, why am I talking about donations when the cost of living is so high? What if 5,000 would give you 50,000 donation to a cause important to you? Just think about that. What is a flow-through share? What is the donation flow-through strategy? How does it work? Who does it work for? How big or small of a donation does it work for? Can you use a holding corporation for it? What creative strategies can you do? And those are actually the fun ones. I always find those fun. How will the revised alternative minimum tax in 2024 for individuals affect the strategy? Why is a personal charitable foundation perfect for your donation flow-through strategy? And how does a donation plan benefit you? So thanks a lot for listening. My name is Ed Rempel. My blog is called Unconventional Wisdom, and it's the #1 blog in Canada for a full-service financial planner. It's at www.edrempel.com. It's also unconventionalwisdom.ca. Remember, .ca, not .com, because it's a Canadian thing. I couldn't get .com. Some scammers got it. Now, if you want to talk to us about potentially being a client and getting help with your financial plan and any of these strategies, all you do is you can ask for a free 30-minute consultation. Just go to Google, type edrempel.com/talk. I also have a blog, podcast, and a YouTube. Just launched the podcast. In the first 3 months, over 7,000 downloads, unique downloads. So the podcast is edrempel.com/listen. It's on 27 different providers. And YouTube is edrempel.com/watch. So thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week.